Welcome back, everyone, to Public Affairs. I am your host, Kaylee Aiken, and today I'm here with a Red Cross representative. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell the audience kind of how you got to where you are in your career path?
Okay, well, sure. Well, first of all, thank you, Kaylee, for inviting me to the show. My name is Rod Cook, and I'm the Executive Director of the East Central Ohio chapter of the American Red Cross. That's a mouthful, I know that. But the East Central Ohio chapter, first of all, covers 12 counties. And the way I like to describe it is we stretch from Morgan and Noble counties in southeastern Ohio all the way up to Bucyrus and Crawford County and everything in between, including Marion County.
Absolutely.
But thank you again. I've been with the Red Cross now, it'll be 22 years in June. And the entire time I've been the executive director of some kind of jurisdiction.
Wow. That's where you started at?
Yes, I started out as an executive director, and I kind of like the Energizer Bunny. I just keep going.
Absolutely. That's very impressive. So what does the Red Cross do for a community?
Well, I tell you what, I could fill the entire show just with that answer. The Red Cross, first of all, is such a enormous organization. First of all, the American Red Cross, just to give you an idea, it's just a drop in the bucket of the entire Red Cross movement around the world. Okay. So the American Red Cross is part of the International Federation of Red Cross Societies around the world. But here in America, what we basically focus on here in our country and also here in Marion County, number one, a lot of people know the Red Cross as we are the community vampires. So, but I say that tongue-in-cheek because one of the things that we take extremely seriously is making sure that hospitals and hospital patients have the right type of blood at the right time. That is so crucial. And that is a full-time job in itself. Okay. Here in Central Ohio, we service 40 hospitals, plus different cancer treatment centers. And we have to make sure every day that we have the right type of blood at the right time that a patient needs it. Okay. So that is probably what we're, best known for. Okay. Probably the next most visible program we have is our disaster cycle services. Nationally, there's a hurricane, or there's a wildfire, or there's a flood, you name it. Okay. Anytime there is a large-scale natural or man-made disaster, okay, the Red Cross, we are part of the National Disaster Response System. So we are tasked by the federal government to be the point agency to take care of the victims of disasters.
Wow.
Now here in Marion, the thing that we respond to by far the most are local house fires. These house fires can be one individual living in a home. It could be a huge family living in a home. It could be an apartment building. Okay. Or it could be an entire community.
Yeah.
Like we just witnessed not too long ago in Los Angeles, okay, and where entire cities literally burnt down. So our disaster program is set up so that we can scale up, increase our resources as needed, depending on what the situation is. And every disaster is different. Okay. So those are two of our biggest programs and most visible. However, another program that we have that most of the community is not aware of until we mention it, okay, and especially among veterans, we have a program called Service to Armed Forces. And any veterans out there, maybe you might remember this. What the Service to Armed Forces program does, the crux of this program is our emergency communications. So let's say that there is an active duty soldier from Marion, okay, that is stationed somewhere overseas, okay, and the family back home has an emergency, okay, who knows what the emergency could be. that family knows the first thing they need to do is contact the Red Cross 24/7. And we have a system set up where the first thing we'll do, we'll get information from the family, and then we will contact, let's say it's somebody is hospitalized from that family. We will contact that hospital and vet the situation, okay? And we'll ask the key question, does their soldier need to come home? And if they say yes, okay, it is only through our system that we, first of all, we could track down active duty military personnel anywhere around the world. Okay. But more importantly, we can track down their commanding officers. And it's only through this system that if we send an emergency communication to the commanding officer of that soldier, active duty personnel, okay, that's how they get emergency leave to come home.
I didn't even know that was a thing for you guys.
Yes, and oftentimes when I go out and talk to veterans groups, I'll mention our emergency communications, and they'll start thinking, and then all of a sudden the light clicks on. That's right, I used that when I was active. Okay, so that's another. Plus, we provide services here locally to these military families if they find themselves in dire straits. They know they can call the Red Cross, and we can try to connect them with different agencies or military organizations, depending on what they need.
Absolutely. Well, you
Okay.
guys definitely do a lot for the community then.
Well, I haven't finished.
Oh, wow. There's more?
Yes, yes. Are you? Can I ask? Are you CPR certified?
I am. I'm first aid and CPR certified.
Good for you. Good for you. That is something else that we do. We do training. Our training services program teaches individuals, organizations, communities how to save a life, literally save a life, through our CPR first aid classes. And there is just a plethora of different classes that one can choose from to take. And it really depends on what your needs are.
Yeah.
A lot of workers depend on our certification for their work purposes.
Yeah. So how long is your guys' course? Just throwing that out there.
On average, it depends on what type of course
Okay.
you take, but on average, just the adult CPR, first aid, and AED course is about 3 to 3.5 hours.
Oh, okay.
However, we have something called blended learning. And what this is you could take most of the course online on the computer at your own pace, at your own leisure, okay? And then once you complete that course, then you can print out your certificate, schedule a time that we have on our schedule a time to come down and demonstrate to the instructor what you've learned.
Wow.
Okay, so that's something else. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for individuals, and because of our little experience with COVID, we have even developed a way to do this completely virtually,
Wow.
this course. But then we have lots of other types of courses out there, so you can go to redcross.org to look up all the different courses that we have.
Absolutely. So, see, you really are doing a lot for the community. I just wasn't aware of it, so I learned something myself. I wasn't aware of
Yep.
the veteran services.
Most people aren't, and believe it or not, there's still one more program
Wow.
I
Okay.
haven't mentioned, and that's our international services.
Okay.
Okay. What this is, there's different components to the international services. For example, we are heavily involved with measles evacuation. I'm thinking disaster, but measles vaccines around the world. Okay, and we're stimulus for that project. However, we have something called Restoring Family Links, and I've got a story to share with you.
Okay.
That's very recent, just the last couple weeks. Okay. A lot of the world isn't aware of this, but there was a boating accident in the Mediterranean Sea a couple of weeks ago. Everybody perished except for a little 11-year-old girl.
Aw.
She was found clinging to some of the wreckage. Okay, so she was rescued, and helped, and through our Restoring Family Links program, okay, we were able to track down her biological mother. Guess where her biological mother is?
Where?
In Columbus.
Wow.
Yes, and we were able to connect them. So that's another program that most of the community is not aware of, but it's something that we do on a daily basis.
Yeah. I mean, it's very important, especially after disasters like that situation.
Yes.
Now, is that all the programs you guys have?
Well, I can go into all the different iterations of different programs I just mentioned, but the overall blanket, yes.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you do a lot for the community, so it's very important to talk about all of the different things that you guys do. So who can donate blood, and how do they do this at the Red Cross?
Okay. First of all, the criteria to donate blood, okay, without parental condition, if you're 17 years or older, okay, you can donate blood. Well, you also have to weigh at least 110 pounds, okay? And we have blood donors that are 17 and above that all the way up to the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Folks that loyally and regularly donate blood. With 16-year-olds in high schools, you can donate blood too, but we do need to have parental permission to do that.
Yeah. I donated my first
you were just
blood
saying.
in high school, so I do know all about the getting permission part. But yeah.
So yes, and our blood program, again, it is so critical that we keep our shelves stocked with the right type of blood, because the complication with blood donations is that, first of all, we break it down into 3 different products. Okay. So depending on what type of product a person needs, but then it has to be the right type. And in some instances, we break it down even further into different criteria to be able to match with that patient.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that
it's
they broke it
extremely
down
complicated,
like that.
yes.
But it's important for everybody to get the correct amount of blood.
Yes,
they
just
need.
think of this. If you were in the hospital and you needed a blood donation, you needed blood,
Yeah.
I bet you would want the safest blood
Exactly.
that you could get.
Definitely, for sure. So what is the donated blood used for? I know you kind of talked about it a little bit.
Well, we could spend the next 3 hours just talking about all the uses, but to break it down, most people, when they think about blood transfusions, they think of, on TV with a, in the ER, like a car crash, people need a transfusion. But I mentioned that we break our products down into three, or our blood donated blood units into 3 products. Okay. They're used for all kinds of different treatments, okay, situations, you name it. One of the products that we break down is called platelets. And platelets is crucial for a lot of cancer treatments. And a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that we're constantly out begging people to donate blood is that, could you guess what the shelf life of platelets are?
Like, maybe
From the time you donate it to the time we have to put it into a patient.
3 months.
Not even close.
Not even close?
5 days.
Wow.
5 days. So that's why we are constantly begging people to donate blood. Red blood cells is another product we break the unit of blood into. That has a shelf life of 40 days. Okay. And then plasma, we can actually freeze plasma and keep it on the shelves and reuse it after up to a year.
What is plasma used for?
Again, there's just so many medical treatments
Yeah.
for plasma.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that was only a shelf life of 5 days, so that was pretty interesting to learn right there. Well, Rod, thank you for that information. We will now be taking a break, and I will see you soon.
We all have a type.
Maybe you know what your type is,
Maybe you don't.
but you have one. Am I your type?
You can be the type to save lives.
Between here and there. But I'm thankful for the journey. The journey got me here. Just watch and see what God can do.
Jesus, there's something about the name of Jesus.
God handled it all. My God fixed it all. His plan was great.
Best in Southern Gospel is found right here on COACD Radio.
Who are the people that serve part-time in the Ohio Army National Guard? We are your neighbors and friends. We are your sons and daughters. Our service is providing us valuable job skills, and it pays up to 100% of our tuition. We're proud to serve our state. We are your Ohio Army National Guard. Learn more about part-time service with the Ohio Army National Guard at nationalguard.com/OH.
When the game is on the line, championship teams know the game plan. They communicate and work together to win. We all need a game plan to protect ourselves online. Talk to family and friends so they know how to stay safe too. Create strong passwords, turn on multi-factor authentication, update software, and recognize and report phishing, because online safety is not something you want to fumble. Get more game-winning tips at CISA.gov/secure-our-world. Then share them with family and friends.
Hi, I'm Peyton Manning, and I'm partnering with the American Red Cross this year to tackle blood shortages. Giving blood's important because every 2 seconds, someone actually needs blood, and unfortunately, only like 3% of the U.S. population donates. So we have to step up to give and to make sure there's plenty of blood available for those in need. Visit redcrossblood.org to get in the game and make an appointment to give.
Text your request at 800-852-8199. We're praying for you.
So, welcome back to Public Affairs. I am your host, Kaylee Aiken. And so now, Rod, we left off talking about what the blood is donated for. So now we will be talking about the disaster response program at the Red Cross.
Okay, and this is a huge subject, so hopefully you can bear with me, Kaylee. But if you think about disasters, you can just break it down very simply into 3 phases. Okay, there's preparedness, there's response, and there's recovery. And that's how we break it down. So we have at the Red Cross different types of preparedness programs. These are educational programs. For example, we have a program called Prepare with Pedro. It's designed for the little ones in kindergarten through 2nd grade, in which we go into schools, after-school programs, you name it, summer camps, etc., to teach kids about different aspects of safety. Probably the key thing we try to teach is fire safety. Number one, how to not start fires, okay, but also what to do in case something bad happens in your home. So that's part of that. Something I would really like to focus on today is something called our Sound the Alarm program. And what Sound the Alarm is we have a program in which any household, okay, can give us a call and schedule an appointment so that we can come out and install these free smoke alarms. And I can't emphasize that enough. Free. Okay. The only thing we ask is about 10 minutes of the residents' time so that we can educate the folks about fire safety. Okay. Talk about creating an escape plan, etc. While somebody's doing that and capturing information from the residents, somebody else will be installing these alarms. And we install as many as the household needs. And again, I can't emphasize enough, it's free, plus these are 10-year alarms. Okay. So one doesn't have to worry about every year or every 6 months or wherever it may be.
No beeping for alarm change or battery change.
But not only that, but that you don't have to worry about getting up on a ladder and trying to reach that battery to change it for 10 years.
Wow.
So this is something that we really are trying to get the word out there. We have installed here in Marion County hundreds of these and hundreds of homes, but there are still hundreds more homes that could use this. And while we're there, we also can leave this bag, okay, full of educational information about safety. And depending on the season, we'll put information in here. For example, unfortunately, let's see, is this wood? Okay, we've got tornado season come up. So this time of year, we put information in there about tornado safety. Okay, so that is a little bit about our preparedness. Our response, that's what most people see on the news, okay,
Yeah.
or hear on the radio or read about in the paper. Nationally, I mentioned earlier that most people know us by responding to huge disasters like what's happened out in LA with the wildfires, what's happening right now down in Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia with the flooding, okay, or in Florida with hurricanes. Okay, those are large-scale disasters. Again, that we can increase our resources just like that, okay, and bring in resources for an entire community. The thing we do the most, though, is respond to local house fires. And that's why we have the Sound the Alarm program to try to prevent this from happening. But if it does happen, we will be there to take care of the victims, of the families.
Absolutely.
And what some of the things we do, we make sure, first of all, we assess the scene, see how bad the damage is. Okay, we work with the fire departments to see if they're allowed back in or not. And then if they need shelter, we will help set them up with shelter. If they need food, clothing, etc. And think about this. If your house is on fire, 2 a.m. in the morning, you're probably not going to pause to go looking for your prescription meds. Okay?
Yeah.
We have a system set up to help replace prescription meds, eyeglasses. We've even had cases where we've replaced dentures.
Wow.
Okay. And then, if you can imagine, after something as traumatic as a house fire, okay, it's going to play on your emotions quite a bit. And if our folks have been trained, by the way, 98% of our workforce are volunteers. Okay? And the ones that respond to these fires, they have been trained that if they notice that the victims are really struggling, we have another component, mental health, disaster mental health, in which we have mental health counselors that we'll begin working with.
Wow. That's something that's very important for that situation.
I mean, just it's hard to imagine how traumatic, excuse me, an experience like that could be. So, and then we will continue working with excuse me, that's why I needed the water. But we will continue working with the victims until they are well on the way to recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how is the Red Cross funded? I mean, obviously, this costs a loss when there's disasters. So is it a federal agency? How are you guys funded?
Great question. Thank you for asking that. The American Red Cross is not a federal agency. We are a private nonprofit. However, we are mandated by Congress to provide our Service to Armed Forces program and our disaster programs. But guess what?
Sure.
I don't know if you've ever heard of this term, but I always say we are the epitome of an unfunded mandate. We're mandated by Congress to provide these services. However, we do not receive funding
For it.
Okay, we rely on each local community and our partners in these communities to help us fund these programs. So, for example, these smoke alarms, we have corporate foundation partners, United Ways, etc., that help us make sure we have the resources needed. Same holds true with if there is a large-scale disaster. I'm sorry, you I don't know if you're a sports fan, but like during NFL games, you'll see after a big disaster, you'll see our ads. Okay, please donate. It's because we rely on the public to help make sure we have the resources to go into these communities to help them get back on their feet.
Absolutely.
And that's the only way that we survive.
Wow. Well,
It's-
it's very impressive for what you guys do to be able to raise all them funds.
I believe, yeah, I would agree with that. However, since I'm in the middle of it, it's just part of the job, and it's something that we do. And as Red Crossers, we are just constantly so busy
Absolutely.
that oftentimes we don't have time to stop and think about what we're doing. We just do it.
So, what does the Red Cross need from the community to survive?
Well, there's three things we always say. Okay, for us to be able to operate, we need either and. Okay, your blood, your money, or your time. Okay, we've talked about blood and how important blood donations are. That is something we are constantly needing help with, is people stepping up to donate blood.
Yeah.
Okay. If you are interested in helping us financially, we are constantly seeking financial donations, and we just talked about why that is so important. However, I mentioned earlier that 98% of our workforce are volunteers. That is something else that we could use help with, always. Okay. It could be being trained to respond to disasters, like we just talked about. Okay. Or if you want to go work at a blood drive, we're constantly needing what we call blood donor ambassadors to work these blood drives. Okay. Or if you want to work in the office, we would love to have that. In our disaster program, we have so many different types of activities you can be involved in. You can pick and choose where you think you feel best. We don't mandate that you have to do this. We let you choose not only what you want to do, okay, but when you want to do it.
Absolutely. Get volunteers in there to be able to help you guys out then.
Exactly.
So, as we're getting ready to wrap up this interview, is there anything that you'd like to add that we may have missed, or a closing statement of any kind?
A couple of things. Number one, I can't emphasize enough how precious our blood donors are to us, because this is a program that you are literally saving lives. Okay, and the feeling of knowing that you spend 45 minutes for a blood donation, and that blood can affect up to 3 different lives. Okay, that's just powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
In itself. Okay, and again, I can't speak enough for our volunteers, and we would love to have you join our team as a volunteer, because what they do every day is just again, it's life saving and life changing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Rod, for coming out and meeting with me today. I really appreciated it.
Well, I really appreciate the offer and an invite to come out.
Absolutely. And as always, you're watching Public Affairs, and I am your host, Kaylee Aiken. Thank you.
We all have a type.
Maybe you know what your type is.
Maybe you don't.
But you have one. Am I your type?
You can be the type to save lives.